It is Friday, and you know what that means.
Yeah,
Welcome, everyone, to episode 379 of everyone's favorite wrestling podcast, The F and Marks.
I'm Jay. He is.
I am the buh, 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 Brainless One.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was channeling my inner OG Bubba Ray Dudley, who we did see on WWE TV this week, and we will see again next week on WWE television. But we're not going to be kicking off the show with that. We have breaking news right before the podcast. There is already a batch of a few names that have been announced for releases by WWE. Cousin Jay, lead us off with that.
It looks like one Baron Corbin, Tegan Knox, and Indy Hartwell have received their walking papers. Your thoughts, Brainless One?
Honestly, they really haven't done much with Tegan Knox since she returned from her previous release from WWE. I could probably count on maybe one hand the amount of time she was on television since her return. So I understand, and honestly, if you look down at NXT and what the main event is going to be next week for NXT show, you can realize that the women that are just not cutting it are just going to get, unfortunately, cut. Indy Hartwell, the fact that she was getting a lot of TV time and it looked like she was getting involved in some kind of storylines, being cut was really a surprise. Like you told me, like literally 2 minutes before the podcast, that Indy Hartwell had gotten released, and I was shocked, absolutely shocked. Was not expecting that. But the big name out of this was Baron Corbin, and I am absolutely baffled by Baron Corbin being let go from WWE. He had been a mainstay in WWE for a while. He had a pretty solid run the first time in NXT, came up to the main roster. Once he ditched like the lone wolf thing and he had the failed Money in the Bank cash in, he lost a little bit of his momentum. He's a former United States champion. He's a former Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal winner. Back when
Former
the
King of the
Andre
Ring.
former King of the Ring, and the Andre the Giant Battle Royal was back when it meant something when it was on the WrestleMania card. And he kind of got lost in the shuffle. He had the Constable Corbin gimmick that he had, and then he was King Corbin, and then he was down on my luck Baron Corbin with the mustard stain on his shirt, and then he hit it at the casino, and then he became Happy Corbin, and honestly, he went back down to NXT and he reinvented himself, and he became what people were expecting Baron Corbin to hopefully get to. And he really shined in his second run at NXT. And I was really excited to see what they were going to do with him once he got back up to the main roster. And it's like, yeah, we're just going to, thrust him in a tag team with Apollo Crews. No disrespect to Apollo Crews, but come on. If you look
I,
up the definition of makeshift tag teams, that is the prime definition of a makeshift tag team.
quite honestly, if Apollo Crews ends up being part of this list, I would not be entirely shocked.
I wouldn't either. There's really a few names. Although it would be kind of weird if they released one of the champions while she was over in Saudi Arabia. Hint, hint, wink, wink. You know, she's fighting for the grand champion of Saudi Arabia. She's fighting a woman the size of her leg.
Right.
I don't think I could be any more obvious. But what are your thoughts on the releases, Cousin Jay?
The thing to me that really did end Baron Corbin's career on the WWE main roster was COVID. He would have been such a good dickhead king, and the crowd would have absolutely, he would have had nuclear heat. It would have been Vicky Guerrero esque heat. It would have been uh, Elias in Seattle, Washington. Maybe not quite that high, but yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, that there was never a more toxic fan base than that Seattle crowd when Elias and Kevin Owens were singing and pissing them off about the Supersonics.
But Corbin, was just starting to, really inject that stuff into the character, and then they were wrestling in front of the fan at the PC. And even when they had the Thunderdome, there's just not the vitriol that you could spark from having a real live audience there. And it felt like he was on the rise because he had just had that feud with Reigns, and he had won a match, and I think Reigns ended up winning 2 of the 3 matches, but like he had, I think it was a really good match at the Royal Rumble, and if I'm remembering right, didn't they beat each other up like in the dugout?
Yes.
I mean, and I think Reigns may have even given him a spear on top of the dugout, if
I
memory
think you're
serves
right.
correct. And I was like, okay, this could be like his launch off point. And then month and a half later, I mean, the country shut down, and they did the best they could, but wrestling was pretty lame without fans.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're talking about a dude who was on the practice squad in the NFL, who was a Golden Gloves champion, and tried the WWE thing. Clearly, at the beginning, he did not have this like strong love for wrestling, but in the midst of it, I think he did grow some sort of love for the business, and certainly had a lot of love for the people there. Like I know he and Corey Graves are like besties, and it's a bummer, that you work somewhere for so long and just, you just never take off quite as much as you wanted to. Tegan Knox, I mean, most of her problem is she just couldn't stay healthy. I mean, she had about as many injuries as Shea Ralph with her knees.
That's even better than what I was going to say. So kudos to you for saying it, and also kudos for the Shea Ralph reference. For those true diehard Yukon fans.
What's up, Doug? What's up, Jessica? Yeah.
Yeah, what's up, everybody?
And Indy Hartwell, I mean, she was still part of one of my favorite storylines from NXT. Her and Dexter Lumis was one of the greatest love stories that I mean, Lumis literally said like nothing. But, those two crazy kids made it work.
They did. It was such a good. It was an underrated storyline, and I'm glad that they did it because it was something different, and we got to see a side of Johnny Gargano that we didn't really get to see before, and that was probably the most. I'm trying to think of what's the best way to describe the way people felt about Austin Theory. That was probably when he was the least despised by everybody during that storyline. But I mean, they all did a great job on that, and it's a testament to what they're willing to do when they get to the next level. Dexter Lumis being a part of the Wyatt Six, and Johnny Gargano is a former SmackDown Tag Team Champion or the WWE Tag Team Champions or the heavyweights, whatever tag team champions they are on SmackDown, even though they held the titles for like 12 days or whatever it was.
Right.
Candice LeRae, I think, is the Speed Champion, the first ever women's Speed Champion. But because Triple H
loves... Do you think this bodes bad things for Candice LeRae with Indy gone?
I don't think so, just because I know that Triple H's infatuation with Johnny Gargano has made Johnny wrestling one of the safest wrestlers on the roster. So if that's the case, he's not going to get rid of Candice LeRae. And the thing about Candice LeRae is that, yes, she's a little bit older than some of the other women in the division, but she could still go in the ring.
Yeah.
She still brings something because she's going to go in there and make the younger talent look better. Indy Hartwell has been in WWE for quite a few years now, And how
Yep.
many times have I mentioned about how I can't even stand watching her swing a chair. Just the way that she works. Every time she's in one of those multi-women gimmicky matches, I was like, this is such a bad idea because she's awful. She is awful. She had too many botches. And I can sit here and I say I was surprised by the release. I really am still surprised by the release, but at the end of the day, when you're breaking down X's and O's in this situation, I'm sorry, she had to go. Either that or you send her back down to NXT, but right now, NXT, that
Ooh,
NXT,
I'm about to make a name for myself here.
I, that women's division in NXT is just absolutely bonkers. Absolutely ridiculous. It's the best women's division probably in the history of professional wrestling. I, 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 I think that rivals even the days of Trish and Lita. That's how good the women down there are. I mean, there's just between Stephanie Vicora and Julia, and what's the new one they just brought in from Japan, Zaria or something like that. That Jordan Grace is as good as freaking NXT as soon as her contract's up in January. They
She
got
could be in the main roster if she wanted to.
they have like Jada Parker and they have Kalani Jordan and they have Roxanne Perez and they have Cora Jade. They are just loaded down there. So unfortunately, this is what's going to happen. They have too much talent, like actual talent, that they could build a women's division around. And you still have people on the main roster. Your Io Skies, your Dakota Kais, your uh, your Natty Neidharts, all the people who can contribute and still do something to elevate the younger stars, or even Io Sky, who's really not even that old, who can still be a star in this division. You still got the Baileys, and you got Charlotte
I
coming
mean,
back.
Io was a world heavyweight champion, or like, well, was it WrestleMania, or was
Yeah,
it
she
SummerSlam? She lost the title.
she lost the title to Bailey at WrestleMania.
So I mean, Io was just a champion.
Yeah, and it's just at this point right now, it's just a numbers game because of the fact that the NXT women's division is as loaded as it is. You can only keep those women down there for so long before you're like, okay, we got to do something. We got to interject them into the main roster. And it's now to a point where you just lost an hour of Monday Night Raw.
Which is actually
You,
probably a good thing.
yeah, it is. I'm not complaining. I just get thrown off when I get the notification at 10 o'clock that Raw is ended instead of 11. So I'm like, wait, what happened? Am I in an
Wait,
alternate universe? Wait, there's not a 3 hour Raw anymore.
yeah. But one of the things that you're bringing up, NXT was seen as the developmental, and now WWE has taken another step in that direction
They
with a
certainly
thing
have.
called WWE ID. Basically, independent development. And there are a handful of what they say are kind of big time wrestling schools and or academies, associations, that they are going to put this official stamp of WWE ID that will kind of put them on a pathway that could get them to WWE at some point that is not going the NXT route, which does speak a little bit to NXT being its own brand and not being thought of quite as low. Like having things like this, which the schools or organizations that are involved are Booker T's Reality of Wrestling, Cody Rhodes' Nightmare Factory, Seth Rollins, what's it called? Anyway, Seth Rollins'
Yeah,
organization.
Yeah.
And there is another one, I think it's like the Knox Academy, which is in LA. And then there's one that's on the East Coast. And I want to say that it's like in New Jersey or something along those lines. So they kind of put it all across the country so they could garner people from whether it's Houston with Booker T, Davenport, Iowa with Seth Franklin Rollins, Atlanta, Georgia with Cody.
And QT Marshall. I'm just saying, he works at the Nightmare Factory,
Right.
and he's about
It's
to
the
put
Black
over.
and Brave Academy. That's Seth Franklin Rollins. Yeah. QT Marshall and the now recently free agent. I think Dustin Rhodes, I believe, does some work at the Nightmare Factory, if I'm remembering correctly.
I mean, is there anybody really better in the industry to learn professional wrestling from than Dustin Rhodes?
It's certainly not Chris Jericho and the Learning Tree, right? Am I right? But one interesting thing that happened this week, there are two very good reasons why you may start watching AEW.
Well, I can't wait to hear what the second reason is because I already know what the first one is because they've piqued my interest.
Nicholas and Matthew will be off television for a while.
Are we sure about? Oh, look, the balloons are coming in and everything.
Yes, I gave the peace sign apparently.
Is this for real? Like they're going to be off television for a long time, or is this going to be like,
I,
oh, we're going to throw
I
them
think
off of
I think
television?
this is legit. I think this is legit.
I just want to make sure because I have a very, 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 very horrible feeling in the pit of my stomach of what they're going to do with that stupid storyline that they're doing in stupid AEW. Well, at least I made it 16 minutes this week, people, without insulting AEW. So you got to give me credit there. I'm gonna Barry Horowitz myself here and pat myself on the back. I have this sneaking suspicion that the Blackpool Combat Club and the Elite, it's all part of a giant plan.
Sad.
I got this. Oh my God, I'm gonna if this is what it is, and they have what is it,
I
just a
think I'm
hair
gonna
under,
vomit. I think I'm gonna vomit.
they have just under a hair under 2 months to earn themselves the brainless moment of the year. But if the Bucks and Jungle Jerk Off join forces with the Blackpool Combat Club, that will be the worst thing they could do with this storyline.
The West.
I just thought it was funny since you mentioned that the Jannetty brothers are no longer the AEW World Tag Team Champions
The Private
because
Party.
we have had numerous tag team title changes in the past week. And I am just flabbergasted. There's one of them in particular I really want to discuss with you. And okay, so yes, the Young Bucks did lose to the.
Okay.
Okay, I got this. I got this. I know. Yeah, all right. So Private Party did beat the Young Bucks. Great. I'm happy because the Young Bucks losing is just almost as good as watching the Yankees lose in the World Series. Because believe me, there was no better feeling this week than watching the Yankees lose in the World Series. I woke up. I was like Ric
All rise.
Flair.
The judge is about to drop the ball.
I woke up yesterday morning like Ric Flair in the 92 Royal Rumble with a tear in my eye. This is the greatest day of my life. And it's funny because every single year when the Yankee season ends, that is the first thing I say the next day because there's no more Yankee baseball, which means the Yankee fans go crawling back under whatever freaking rock under the Steinbrenner estate that they go crawling back under, and we don't hear from them again until they lose Juan
27,
Soto.
27,
Yeah, 27
27.
championship. But I thought it was interesting that they did it when I saw it because on Friday on SmackDown they did the finals of the two triple threat matches where the two teams went up against each other, where we got the Motor City Machine Guns versus DIY. Fantastic match. I know Sean O was very happy to see Tommaso Ciampa lose to the Motor City Machine Guns, and it's not because he's president of the Motor City Machine Gun fan club.
He
But
is
then
the head of the King of Stealing Heat fan club.
he isn't just a member; he's also the founder.
And Tommaso Ciampa keeps on missing RKO's out of nowhere, by the way.
I know it's the funniest bit. It's almost the only person that's funnier than that whole Gargano Ciampa Randy Orton thing is R-Truth, because there's nothing that R-Truth can't do that's gonna make somebody laugh, because he's just genuinely he's gonna win my Superstar of the Year this year. I don't care, and I may put him in the Hall of Fame again. I don't care. It's R-Truth. He deserves it. Nobody else deserves to be in R-Truth can go in the Hall of Fame for us every single year. It would make sense. But back to SmackDown. The Motor City Machine Gun win. The Bloodline comes out. You know, oh my God, I almost called them Zilla Fatu. I'm sorry.
The Gorillas of Destiny.
No, it was Solo. I'm sorry. I was thinking because you know what it was before the podcast. I saw the thing where Zilla Fatu wants to wrestle John Cena in his retirement tour, and I've just been thinking. I was like, ooh yeah, because that would work. Because Zilla Fatu is Umaga's son, and Cena Umaga had some of the best matches. Anyway, it was Solo Sikoa came out there. He told the Motor City Machine Guns, you're new and all this stuff. I'm the tribal chief. You have to acknowledge me. And then, it was stuff going on. They were talking back and forth, and Nick Aldis was like, no, don't do the title match now. Motor City Machine Guns challenge them to a match. They make the match official. They start fighting. And then, you know, Jimmy Uso gets involved, and they start attacking Solo, and they take out Jacob with Roman Reigns. And then Jey Uso got involved and helped the Motor City Machine Guns, Cousin Jay. Let me say this for the first time in the history. 379 episodes it took us to say these very words. Cousin Jay, the Motor City Machine Guns are the WWE Tag Team Champions. Let that sink in 2024. What are your thoughts on the Motor City Machine Gun winning the Tag Team Championships in their second week in WWE?
So, Motor City Machine Guns, like literally a handful of years ago, it looked like one or both of them were going to retire from wrestling. They had gone on to do singles stuff. I forget which one. I think it was Sabin, who had a lot of injuries that had been piling up. And like, yeah, I think I'm done with this. But he came back, and he did some stuff. Alex Shelley, same kind of thing. Came back. They had singles success. Then they came back together, did the Motor City Machine Guns thing. And then, you hear the rumblings of them going to WWE, and it sounds like they're going to go to NXT. But then you find out, oh, crap, they're going to SmackDown. They're going to the main roster. It's like, all right, well, let's see them work their way up the ladder and what have you. But neither of these guys are spring chickens. Hardcore wrestling fans like us know who they are, know that they put on classic matches. They are a great tag team, well deserving of the flowers that just got given to them. And as far as the WWE audience, they didn't have this loud, raucous, like, roar when they debuted. It wasn't like when AJ Styles debuted. They just were not on the same level of what AJ was of having notoriety. But if you want to get, again, aging team, if you want to get them instant notoriety, you make them the champions. And it's not that they're just handing that to them. They earned it over, 20 plus years of working their tail off and being one of the best teams in the business that just never went to WWE. So I freaking love it. I think this may be the second quickest anybody has ever won a championship, because if I'm remembering correctly, the Texas Tornado won the Intercontinental title in his very first match. and it was SummerSlam against Mr. Perfect. If I'm remembering correctly.
You may be right. I will say this. It has happened more recently than the one-legged Kerry Von Erich.
Milan.
Santino Marella beat William
Umanga.
Regal's favorite wrestler, Umanga, in his debut to win the Intercontinental Championship. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. Jim Cornette's favorite wrestler, Santino Marella, won the Intercontinental Championship from Umanga. I think it was in Milan, Italy, too. The Milan Miracle.
Yeah, they called it the Milan Miracle.
I love Santino. I don't care. That dude was entertaining as hell. I don't care. But yes, I do know for a fact that Santino did win his in his debut match. But it's just funny because like the AEW fans are like, ugh, you guys get mad when AEW does it with those. Yeah, because Brian Cage got a title match like in his second match in AEW. Brody Lee beat 3 local competitors in Marco Stunt. And then I had AEW. Oh, he stole the championship. Oh, so basically somebody steals the championship, so it automatically makes them the number 1 contender for the championship. Is that what I'm understanding?
Something like
Because
that.
technically speaking, Ted DiBiase and Andre the Giant, technically with the help of Brian Hebner, I think it was Brian, right? Brian was the brother.
Hey, it was one of them, but he paid. He had hundreds of $100 bills coming out of his pockets, according to a very reliable source. And one of them had plastic surgery to look exactly like the other one, according to a very reliable source.
Just out of curiosity, is that reliable source a gentleman who has once claimed that he wrestled 400 days, not 400 times, 400 days in a 365-day year?
Yes. And this person also in court claimed that Hulk Hogan had a different size wanker than Terry Bollea.
That his real life persona and his alias had 2 completely different penis sizes will forever be. Can we just put that in the Hall of Fame? Can we
It
put
is
Hulk
the most
Hogan?
pro wrestling thing that has ever happened outside of this unearthed Hackenschmidt video, George Hackenschmidt, that they unearthed some footage from 1908. I give you one guess. Who was he wrestling?
In 1908? Oh,
1908.
that's not fair. There's 2 possible answers. It's 50-50. It's a flip of a
I
coin.
flip the coin.
Okay, I'm gonna flip the coin. Bobby Fish.
Bing, ding, 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 ding. Bobby Fish, George Hackenschmidt, classic match. But they unearthed, and it's just about an entire match. Bobby Fish doing his thing.
With the silent black and white footage.
I mean, it helped him get over. And I mean,
Where
at
is the
that point, I
lie?
mean, he was only 5,600 years old at that point. So,
Hey, just remember, I showed physical proof that Ric Flair was around the time of when the Mormons first formed.
right.
He was in the Book of Mormon.
He
And
is in the Book of Mormon.
I'm telling you, it's the hair. He looked like a nature boy. He may or may not have taken a young damsel onto Space Mountain
Before there was even a Space Mountain. Woo!
before there was even a Space Mountain. He's the reason why they call it Space Mountain. Because
Yeah.
he was the originator of the Space Mountain.
Yeah.
But honestly, like with the Motor City Machine Guns, I'm very, very happy for these guys. These guys have been busting their asses in professional wrestling for over 20 years, all over the world. 2 of the most accomplished guys who never had a chance or an opportunity to work in WWE, and it's finally paying off. And yes, I am one of those people like, well, you're going to bring somebody in, you kind of got to, let them develop themselves, let them, establish themselves with the fans, make a name for themselves. No, Throw that out the fucking window. When they were doing the thing, oh yeah, we're going to challenge for the tag team titles, like, oh my god, they're going to win the titles. I'm like, I should be mad, but I'm not. Because it's Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin.
Yeah.
It's two of the most underrated stars, guys who just wait until they get that tag team division going the way they need to. With you got Street Profits and the New Day, and obviously with Jey Uso helping Jimmy, and now him and Roman, them and Roman are going to be teaming up against three quarters. I'm sorry, the good three quarters of the Bloodline 2.0 in Saudi Arabia tomorrow.
Right.
But like,
It is going to be, I'm not going to watch it, but it's going to be like watching water buffaloes clash. If Roman and the American Werewolf are in the ring at the same time, if you are in that splash zone, that first like 5 rows, forget it. Forget it.
I may, because I'm already penciled into
You know what? They need that stuff like when Gallagher did Sledge-O-Matic. The first like 5 rows used to get like a poncho.
the watermelon.
Yeah.
I'm already now penciled in for 2 matches tomorrow.
All right.
Obviously, I'm sorry. I'm way too intrigued for that Cody versus Gunther match. They were so good in the Royal Rumble. I want to see them actually have a wrestling match. And that's going to be probably next week's top 10 is going to be my top 10 wrestlers that I would love to have seen Gunther wrestle against all time. Although I'm sure that list will be 309 names long just because Gunther's the one wrestler you could put in any era and he would wrestle and work with everybody.
Sure.
But now that I found out last week that they're going to do I think it's a fatal 4-way or a fatal five. I think it's a fatal 4-way with a team from Raw, a team from SmackDown, and a team from NXT going up against the women's tag team champions who happen to be Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair. So I'm now officially penciled in for 2 matches tomorrow.
Oh. All right. Going back to some of the AEW talk, Mike Rainey in the chat said, I think Jungle Jerkoff betrays the Young Cucks, and he joins up with the Blackpool Combat Club, and when Twinkle Toes McFinger Bang Omega comes back, he rejoins the Young Cucks.
I take that back. I would rather have the Young Bucks join forces with the Blackpool Combat Club so that they're all on the losing edge of it, and standing tall at the end of it are Kenny Omega and the new AEW World Heavyweight Champion, the man that I said was eventually going to win the AEW World Heavyweight Championship, Orange Cassidy. If they're trying. They're trying their damnedest. They're trying to turn. I don't know if they're trying to turn Orange Cassidy into Sting, or if they're trying to turn Orange Cassidy into Super Cena. Because the fact that somebody said that Orange Cassidy has the same aura as John Cena is just. I hate to break it to whoever it was who said that, and I really don't want to know who it is just because I didn't want to give them my brainless this week because I already penciled in who it was. But to say that Orange Cassidy has the same aura as John Cena, who for the history of wrestling, we're talking Bruno Sammartino, we're talking Hulk Hogan, we're talking Stone Cold Steve Austin, we're talking The Rock, and we're talking Ric Flair for aura. Harley Race for aura.
Roman Reigns
for aura. We're talking legends of legends. So the fact that somebody like Orange Cassidy, and don't get me wrong, I am a huge fan of Orange Cassidy, and he's one of the few that are in AEW that I hope for all the success for. And this storyline, yes, if he is going to be the one that's going to be leading them in taking out the Blackpool Combat Club, hopefully with the Bucks and frickin' their frickin' ugly ass penis, frickin' Jungle Jack, so they could slap them all around. That's all I want to see. I just want to see them get their comeuppance. The Elite, they need to be the ones that eat shit. It cannot be the Bucks saving AEW because it's just going to kill the story. It's going to absolutely kill the story. and it's just going to drive people away. Okay, now on second thought, no, I'm sorry. On third thought, let me change it back. I want the Young Bucks to be on the side of AEW helping
Honor.
them win, just because it's just going to. Yeah, wait, just because it would make it so awesome when everybody tunes away when they're like, "Oh, great, look, it's the Young Bucks." Bleh.
Oh, wait, it's Mercedes. Bleh. Wait, it's the learning tree. Bleh. And they just puked all over the place. And
All
everybody
we
was getting sick. And it was the worst day of my life. Mom,
that's what
I'm starting to like this kid.
that's what I need now, cousin Jay. I need it to be the Bucks. I need it to be Kenny. I need it to be Orange Cassidy. I need it to be Magnum, AP. I need them all in there to be the ones that go after the Blackpool Combat Club, and they're the ones that take out the plumber and the rest of the freaking Lollipop Guild. I need that in my life, just because it's going to draw away so many people when the faux cowboy, the Genetti brothers, uh, the company mascot. Sorry, Orange Cassidy, I have to do it. And the man who wrestles fuck dolls are the team that's standing tall at the end of this, victorious for Team AEW, where Tony Khan comes out and just does a line of coke in the middle of the ring to celebrate. As the ratings for AEW Dynamite plummet below 500,000 for the first time in a long time. Yeah.
Donnie from Snow believes that in the end it's going to be Darby Allin who takes the title and will not be Orange Cassidy.
He's another one I wouldn't have a problem with, though. I'm a fan of Darby Allin. Of the four pillars that are not Max, Darby Allin's the only one that has actually earned and deserved to be called a pillar. And if they did it with Darby Allin, it would be great because the fans love Darby Allin. He's the only other
Right.
logical choice. You don't really have right now. Like, who's your biggest face in AEW right now? I don't watch this shit. I have not tuned into an episode of Dynamite, Rampage, or Collision, or Dark Elevation, or any of those other stupid shows they've had for AEW. I haven't turned into any of them in over a year. Somebody who watches AEW at all, and I highly doubt any of you do because you're all intelligent enough to tune into this podcast every Friday. So I know for a fact you do not watch that drizzle shit each and every week. It's a freaking donkey clown show that's over there in AEW. Cousin Jay, can you tell me right now who is the biggest face in AEW?
Well, he just came back from injury, but I would say Adam Cole, baby, might be the biggest face. But like you got the Hurt Business coming in there and destroying Swerve Strickland this past week. They're certainly not faces. Uh, I just want to pitch a show title for AEW for you and see what you think about it. AEW Speedball. I think Tony Khan could really get on board with something like that. I think he could get on board. I think it would be fabulous. The ratings would be through the roof. The biggest ratings AEW have ever done without Sheldon Cooper.
Okay, so what you're telling me is that their biggest face is it's either Adam Cole, who was just revealed as the devil when he turned
And
heel on Max, who was just a face, who's now back as a heel, with no reasonable explanation whatsoever behind it. It's just like,
not,
yeah,
not at
we're
all.
just gonna do willy nilly with the booking. We
We're
put
going to
this.
pretend like Mickey James didn't do it. You know, she explained exactly why she turned heel that time. Exactly.
Or it's Swerve, because you said that the Hurt Business just came in and took out
Swerve,
Swerve on Dynamite. But riddle me this, Batman. Wasn't Swerve just the heel when he was working with Bryan Danielson?
he was, although he was getting an awful lot of like face reaction. So like it was just Swerve being Swerve, and it's like when I went to the AEW show, a few months back, it's like, whose house is it? Like the whole crowd was chanting along. So as much as he was a
Swerve.
heel, he was like, people were down with Swerve.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay, okay.
I'm just trying to.
You don't find the logic. Don't find the logic.
I
Think
know I got
about
it.
booking WWE from like 2004 ish to 2022. Put that brain in your head, because that is the booking that we're seeing from Cokehead Khan right now.
See, that's what I was gonna say. I know the reasonable explanation to all this booking. All I was gonna do was just this and just go, and that's the answer. There's no rhyme or reason about it. Tony Khan is literally booking these shows each and every week. Like he's either pulling the action figures out of the box and said, you know what, this would be a good week for me to use. Oh, no, not the Young Bucks again. How many copies of these action figures do I have? Well, who am I going to have them go up against this week? Come on, FTR. Come on, FTR.
But your
Come on,
helmet,
FTR.
it's so
The,
big.
the what is it, the Renegade, whatever the tag team, that the Low Riders or the Run Riders or the Rum Riders or some shit. They have some tag team of these dudes who look like they were a tag team from the 80s. The Showrunners or
And
some
then they have
stupid shit like
pilots.
that. Do they have what?
They have pilots. They've got Top Flight. Honestly, I think they should be dressed in like they should be dressed as golfers instead of pilots. That, you know what? They could say that they're on strike from the airline right now, and then they could dress as golfers, and I think then they could get a couple new members to Top Flight. They could get Masse and Mansoor, and then they could start modeling Top Flight and Maximum Male Models, and they become like a legit modeling agency.
Why? Of all the things that you could remind me of that exists in professional wrestling, after I just spent the last week forgetting the fact that Top Flight are now pilots with Action Andretti, did you not want to turn him into a NASCAR driver because you were afraid that Bob Holly was going to Thurman Sparky plug somebody and get all upset with a lawsuit? Is that what it is? Or was it you were afraid that Will Ferrell was going to show up and perform like he did as D'Angelo Vickers on The Office and just drive away whatever ratings you thought he was going to bring in? Because it's either that or you dress up Action Andretti like Super Dave Osborne. Those are really your two options. And another thing with this whole Blackpool, since we're going to on the AEW thing, with this whole Blackpool Combat Club bullshit that they're doing, are they going to drag this garbage out until my Lord and Savior Edward Moore Kingston returns from surgery in about a year?
I would love if it was him I wish it was the Mad King who was leading the charge. He would be the best.
I
He
need
has a problem with everybody, bro.
I just need Eddie Kingston showing up with his white Yankees t-shirt on, covered in his blood. He's all covered in his blood with a gasoline can ready to set Chris Jericho on fire.
Yes.
That's what I need. And I want him to set the whole, just everybody. He's going in there and he's going to Harley race the bitch while everybody's still in the ring. Because he may be the only person that's crazier than Harley Race.
Except for maybe Haku. Maybe. You know who we don't talk of enough is a crazy SOB who's a tough SOB also? Finley.
Finley?
Yeah.
My name's Finley, and I like to fight.
I remember seeing an interview with him where some dude more or less was saying, "Oh yeah, wrestling's fake," and Finley, it sounds like he was kind of grinning at him. "Oh yeah, you think it's fake?" And like he just went over there and like was like going to like shake his hand and ended up like squeezing his thumb and like shattering it.
Jay, was it him or was it Regal that punched the hole in the freaking window of the car?
That is a good question. I don't remember, but you know, what am I think it was WrestleMania 24, and it was the first match of it. JBL versus Finley in a Dublin street fight. I love that match. I really do. Like I think Finley was like doing a suicide dive, and JBL hit him with a cookie sheet right in the head. They beat the holy hell out of each other.
They beat the shit out of each other. That was, and it's funny too because that was supposed to be Finley versus Vince McMahon because of the whole Hornswoggle thing. And at last minute, like, yeah, we're gonna do JBL instead. And like you said, they beat the flipping shit out of each other. It was great. It was a great way to start it. I love it when they do bangers like that to start the show, or when they do like the AJ Styles versus Shane McMahon to kick off the show, or Brett and Owen. Matches like that are always fun. Or when they kick it off with Sheamus
and Daniel Bryanson.
Yeah.
Chris Brown in the chat says he would have loved JBL to make a one-off appearance and give Nicholas and Matthew a clothesline from hell. Nicholas and Matthew will be off TV for quite some time, so yeah.
If the ratings go up every single week, now that everybody knows that the Young Bucks are not going to be on television every week, does Tony Khan start asking questions, or does Nick and Matt Jannetty just keep showing up with cocaine for him?
The second one.
Thank you. I had to ask.
Yes.
And it's funny because with all this talk with the new tag team champions in both AEW and in WWE, we also have new I almost said NXT. We have new TNA tag team champions. Matt and Jeff Hardy.
All right.
Again, another thing I never thought I would say in 2024. Matt and Jeff Hardy are tag team champions.
I hope Jeff has gotten his stuff together. But as I've stated many times on the show, for Jeff, like unless he has not been a good steward of his money, dude, retire. Like after all the stuff that he tried doing to show that he could still do it against Darby Allin, and then just screwed himself up so badly that he ended up medicating himself and causing he and his brother to more or less be excommunicated and leave AEW. It's like, that was Jeff's fault. But if he's got his proverbial stuff together, I mean, good for them. And I hope he's not cashing a check that he's not going to be able to pay in 10 years.
The Hardy Boys are tag team champions in TNA, and Dolph Ziggler is still their world heavyweight champion. He beat Joe Hendry at I don't remember what the name of it. I keep wanting to say Bound for Glory, but I don't think it was Bound for Glory.
Actually, it might have been. Slammiversary is their big show in the summer, And Bound for Glory generally is in October.
Okay, so maybe it was Bound for Glory that it happened last week. But
Yeah.
yeah, new tag team champions in WWE, TNA, and AEW all in the same week. Does anybody know if we have new tag team champions in New Japan? Did AAA named new tag team champions?
Well, we might get more women tag team champions tomorrow.
Wait. Did Hampton Roads Championship Wrestling? Did the Black Russians drop the tag team titles?
They did when COVID hit, and they never saw them again. Yep.
The Cowardly Clowns live forever. Hampton Roads Championship Wrestling. Quote the Brainless One. It's not a gimmick.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, we did talk about the Hurt Business being in AEW. Bobby Lashley did finally make his debut on Dynamite
Yep.
this week, joining forces, surprise, surprise, with MVP and Shelton Benjamin.
All right. We may have lost the Brainless One. So Bobby Lashley did debut in AEW this past week. We all knew it was coming. You know, WWE had offered him a contract, but it was clearly they weren't offering him enough money on purpose. So they could say, well, we offered him a contract, but I get what WWE was doing. I completely get it. Lashley is in his upper 40s. WWE's trying to get younger. And it's like going, hey, we'll pay you this much, but we don't see you at the top of the card anymore. I understand WWE's stance. I understand Lashley's stance. And quite honestly, I think this will be a win-win for both companies because WWE is getting younger. And by the way, they have so many people in the upper part of their card right now in WWE that I love Lashley. I mean, how many years was I chirping about seeing Lashley and Lesnar? It was something we had never gotten, and it finally happened. Lashley had a very good run in WWE, was champion a couple of times. Hurt Business was a big deal. They got rid of Retribution for us. Thank you. and again, like not to say he's completely aged out, but yeah, they want to go younger. So they're like, all right, well, good luck to you. I think AEW could actually do well with the Hurt Business. Hopefully, nose candy won't impact their booking. I think they will be booked well. And you know, Shelton can still go at his age. Lashley can still go. So they have, you know, a few years to do something. And I'm like, all right, well, let's see where this leads. That, you know, they picked Swerve and they decided that they were going to take him out because the fans are really kind of behind him, behind Swerve. And okay, so you're showing yourselves to be heels. You took out the person who gets the loudest reaction, whether he's a face or a heel, person who gets the loudest reaction. You took that person out, and the fans weren't happy. I think this is a very good debut for Bobby Lashley. I liked his suit that he had. It was like this maroon leather. It looked cool. It looked cool.
I was very upset to see that they attacked one of my favorite managers, Prince Nana. Very upset that they did that to my buddy Prince Nana. And honestly, I'm gonna have a little bit more of an opinion on this later on in the podcast, much later on in the podcast, because I'm gonna mention it. Just because
there was one thing specifically in that segment that will be mentioned by me later in the podcast.
Oh no, there's nothing even about the segment. It's just because what happened on Wednesday kind of just the double standard in professional wrestling is just very strong, and I'm very much want to talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but honestly, at the end of the day, I'm happy for Bobby Lashley. He's going to get a chance in AEW. Hopefully, some of these younger talent can actually learn a thing or two from him and Shelton Benjamin. And like you said, Shelton Benjamin at his age can still go. I absolutely love Shelton Benjamin, and I actually, I'll admit it. I'll actually admit it right now. I tune in and watch online on the Twitters and everything that Shelton Benjamin does. Ever since he joined AEW, I will watch whatever he does. I pull up the clips on my phone on Thursday and I watch Shelton Benjamin. I will not tune into AEW Dynamite, although whatever they're doing with Orange Cassidy, they have definitely piqued my interest. So it's only going to be a matter of
And
time.
taking away Nicholas and Matthew.
Just when I think I'm out, they suck me right back in. That's how it's going to be. Watch. I won't admit it at first, too, and you're going to end up getting it out of me. I know you will. But
Yeah.
again, I'm happy for both Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, MVP. We'll talk later.
So, you know what? I am going to bring up the thing that was very annoying about this. They're beating the holy hell out of Swerve and Prince Nana, right? And then you have a whole bunch of referees running down to the ring to try to break it up. You hear very loudly one of the referees say, 90 seconds.
Oh,
It was almost like watching Sid in the War Games match between the Horsemen and I think it was the Steiners and Brian Pillman. I forget who the fourth person was on their team. When Sid ended up power bombing Pillman and almost killing him, and El Gigante came in the ring and stopped the match. El Gigante did. Yeah. He couldn't even stand up in the cage. But that whole time, Sid, like you see Sid like telling the wrestler what he's about to do.
what's Sid?
It was good and terrible. It was vintage WCW. I want to say that might have been maybe Wrestle War 1991.
You got it all wrong, Cousin Jay. When the Hurt Business was taking out Swerve and they were taking out my buddy Prince Nana, it was most of the wrestler or the referees that were running out to the ring. You, the fans of this podcast, the AEW fans, all the fans in the internet wrestling community, and I all know that as the other referees were running, Ref Aubrey was galloping.
I thought you were going to say something about Dick Knox.
Oh, nay, nay, Cousin Jay. It was definitely going to be a Ref Aubrey Edwards joke because she ran down to the ring like she was in first place in the Kentucky Derby and the finish line was right there and she was about to destroy whatever I had in my superfecta. And then my favorite part was, as this is all going on, all the referees are just standing outside the ring like, yeah, we're going to charge the ring and then not do anything. That was a Dick Knox move because they definitely just like they ran out there and then they forgot what they were supposed to do. They forgot that they were referees. I'm surprised.
Stuff.
I'm surprised that Bryce Remsburg didn't get into the ring and get his ass kicked by the Hurt Business too.
Now, yeah.
Oh nay nay.
But yeah, well, one of the referees loudly gave them a time cue of 90 seconds. And guess
Jay,
how much longer the segment lasted?
I'm gonna take a wild guess and say 90 seconds.
90 seconds.
So that when something like that happens in productions with a snafu, that's got to be like for me as a delivery driver seeing Jim Carrey and Ace Ventura when he's bringing the box to get the dog back and he's just we're going downtown and he kicks the box down the hallway. That's got to be what it's like for you to hear the 90 seconds from productions as it's happening.
Yes.
Okay.
Things like that. It's just like, really? Really? All right. Guess that's
Terrible.
what we're doing.
Terrible. The terribleness of this terribleness is terrible.
Yeah. You want to talk about terribleness?
Of course. We were just talking about AEW, so this is going to be one hell of a segue.
So, a scammer pretending to be Alexa Bliss got $1 million out of an elderly man. $1 million. His family knew it was a scam. They all tried to talk the man out of stopping giving the fake Alexa money. But the person pretending to be Alexa said, "Oh, yeah, Vince McMahon made me do this and this and this," and told a sad sob story. And the old man just believed it. And like the family was doing everything they could to stop the money from going out, and they couldn't. The man was just so convinced that this woman needed help and needed his help. The only thing that stopped him from getting scammed out of more money is he died. $1 million. People like that who do things like that and take advantage of people, I hope they come to a place of repentance at some point in their life. Clearly they're not there, and they're there to screw people over and take their money. There's a special place for them if they don't seek repentance, and I hope they don't go there, but that's one of the most atrocious things you can do to somebody.
It is. It's absolutely horrible.
It's more or less what happened in the movie The Beekeeper. If you haven't seen it, also Beekeeper. It's on Prime Video. Beyond that, I know it's the day after Halloween. Watch Gags the Clown.
Watch Gags the Clown.
I believe it's still on Prime Video.
I'm actually glad you mentioned Gags the Clown and Halloween, because it was brought to my attention yesterday, 29 years ago. Michael Whipwreck became ECW World Heavyweight Champion for the very first time. And the call, and I of course I had to listen to it again because it's just Joey Styles doesn't get enough credit for what he was able to do as a ring announcer, and Sean O doesn't get enough credit as not only being an FMRX Hall of Famer, but the fact that he has nailed that impersonation from Joey Styles. But Mikey Whipwreck beating the Sandman 29 years ago on Halloween night to become ECW World Heavyweight Champion.
Yes.
I had to mention that because everybody knows I have an unhealthy obsession with Mikey Whipwreck.
Yes.
I was absolutely flabbergasted when they did the top 100 moments in ECW history, and him winning the title was like 42nd.
Very sad.
The reign of frickin' chairs. Ugh.
Another bit of bad news. Rhea Ripley, who had recently come back from an injury, unfortunately is injured again. It ain't ballet what they do. And she cracked her orbital bone. And it sounds like it's bad, not like Cody Rhodes bad, where like he could put on a mask and all his beauty is taken away and he looks horrid, no longer dashing. But it sounds like Rhea Ripley's going to be out for a little bit of time and has got to let the orbital bone heal. I mean, I think she'll be back by Royal Rumble time. So it really is a bummer. Like she just has not been able to stay healthy to keep the momentum that she's had going.
And the problem is that they're all freak accidents because it was an orbital boat injury. Granted, they were claiming that it was from a headbutt from last week's show on Raw. You and I both know, and everybody knows, she should not have gone out into the parking lot at NXT. That is the most dangerous place on planet Earth. I don't understand why people don't understand this.
They need security there.
She went out there into the parking lot and she got jumped by Dom and with Liv with a pipe or a bat, whatever it was, and she was all bloodied and beaten. And I was like, oh yeah, there you go. She went out into the most dangerous place on planet Earth. It's not the North End of Hartford, people. It is in the parking lot at NXT.
Yeah.
And again, kudos to them to the fact that they're utilizing all of the main roster people down in NXT. And I know they're like, oh, well, they're just trying to get the ratings. Who cares? They have the people available. Now they're prolonging storylines from the main roster down in NXT. It's not just like CM Punk going in there and screwing Ethan Page out of the NXT Championship. It's Rhea Ripley going down there and giving a kudos to the women, all the face women down in NXT. And then she goes out into the dangerous parking lot and gets jumped by Dirty Dom and Liv Morgan.
Congratulations, Liv Morgan, by the way, who just signed a new 5-year deal with the company.
She has done such a great job from where she was in 2016, 2017 to where she is as 2024. And I'm not just saying as a two-time champion, former Money in the Bank winner. I'm talking about the fact that she was absolutely awful.
And you can't teach that.
On the mic, she was not very good in the ring. Now she's very serviceable in the ring. Yes, passable in the ring. And she's actually really good on the mic. She has developed herself into a star. I'll say it right now. Liv Morgan is a star. And she deserves this 5-year contract. She deserves all the accomplishments she has obtained in professional wrestling. And I'm happy for her. I really am, because I appreciate the people who put forth the work to better themselves in their career, especially in the sport of professional wrestling. Because we've seen people who just don't have the heart for it. Look at The Miz. The Miz is the prime example of it. Nobody took him seriously because he was on The Real World. He put in the time. He put in the effort. Everybody knew he could talk. For the longest time, probably for a good decade, whenever Mike Mizanin was standing in the ring with any of the wrestlers, like if he would get in the ring with the Big Show, man, this doesn't even look right. There's no way, shape, or form that the Big Show and the Miz is like any kind of a fair fight. Same thing with Mark Henry. Same thing with when he was in the ring with Kane. And even to a point where he was in the ring with Randy Orton, and it's like, yeah, it's not that believable. Now it's to the point where Miz has established himself. He's pretty solid in the ring. I'm not saying he's going to light the world on fire with 5-star matches because he doesn't work in AEW.
Or the Tokyo Dome.
Or in the Tokyo Dome. But he's light years better than he was when he first started. He's one of the safest wrestlers in the business. And just all around, for a guy who deserves to get his flowers that doesn't get it, the man deserves his flowers. Because of all the hard work that he has put in to perfect his craft to be better. Because you could be entertaining as all hell, but if you can't wrestle, it's not going to translate, and vice versa. If you can wrestle and you have no personality and you can't talk, it's not going to work for you. That's why Shelton Benjamin never became WWE champion, unfortunately. Dude was a hell of a worker. He's just not very good on the mic when they gave him a chance.
Right. Chris Brown saying, who will be the number one face for women on Raw with Rhea out?
Well, they could always make a phone call and re-sign somebody real quick.
Yeah.
That's just.
I hear Charlotte Flair's due back soon.
Yeah, but we're saving Charlotte because, like, in the situation, if Charlotte were to go to SmackDown, which I'm expecting her to do because, Andrade Cien Almas is on SmackDown, so I don't see her really going to Monday Night Raw or being a face. But the lesser of two evils can go to SmackDown and take the title from the more evil of the two. So the WWE could do the right thing and just finally release Nia Jax, and she can just get, they can just put her on an iceberg and send her adrift. That's all I care. I don't care. Goodbye. We're sending you adrift, Nia Jax. Don't blow your ACLs on the iceberg as you're floating away, and don't hit the Titanic. Oh wait, that's the Titanic on the iceberg.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, like the number
number
one.
one face. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I think like if their best option, like quite honestly, might be bringing up somebody from NXT, or if Jordan Grace's contract is up soon, you could. I don't know. I don't know.
I have a question. Since we were just mentioning her earlier in the podcast, and she is a former women's champion. Does anybody know? Because I'm still a little confused with some of the face and heel turns. I've had to subject myself to some unwanted Monday Night Football games in the last few weeks, so I've been flipping back and forth between both. Does anybody know if the Kabuki Warriors are faces or heels now? Because I know at one point they were feuding
Yes.
with.
They're
Yes.
both. They're both.
Why not make Io
They're
Sky?
everything all at once.
That's all I'm saying. Like, why not Io Sky could be the next one to challenge for the title, or they could beat Dakota Kai. Oh wait, no, is Dakota Kai still hurt?
That's a good question.
Kairi Sane's a former NXT Women's Champion. She's a former Tag Team Champion. Why can't Kairi Sane be the one that goes up against Liv Morgan? You have women, and you got to utilize them. Like, are we really going to believe that Shayna Baszler is going to be the one that goes up against Liv Morgan, or the one that looks like the waitress from It's Always Sunny? I forget what her name is. And don't take this as an indictment on anything. You could give me your name, and 10 seconds later I'd forget it. I am the absolute worst with names.
I don't even know what show Piper Niven's on right now.
She's on SmackDown with Chelsea Green,
Okay.
which, by the way, is the extra treat on the fact that I get the Fatal 4-Way Tag match tomorrow, because Chelsea Green's one of the participants. Are you kidding me? Do you know how happy I am that I'm going to be able to watch Chelsea Green tomorrow?
Oh, are you thinking of Sonya Deville?
No, I know who Sonya Deville is. It's the other one. Sonya Deville looks like Cruella Deville in her mid-30s. I like Sonya Deville. She's another one that I remember her from her NXT days when we first started doing the podcast, and I really started getting into NXT when she was, I think, Daria something. I think it was her real name, and then she became Sonya Deville. When she became like the authority figure, when she was working with Adam Pearce, that did so good for her career on the microphone. She needed that to kind of help to develop a character, and she learned so much, and she got a lot more comfortable on the microphone. I'd love to see them do something with Sonya Deville. It's the third woman in that faction that I can't think of the name for the life of me. And I'm going to be so mad when I hear what it is, unless I figure it out. And I keep trying to, like, she was down in NXT. Why am I forgetting her name? I'm horrible with names.
But anyway.
Right. I mean, you got options that you can throw at Liv Morgan. I mean, yes, they got to go through the rack back to get to her. But you got to do. I think that Io Sky is the one that makes the most sense, because she is an established champion with a great track record, and I know that Damage Control is fighting in this tag team match tomorrow. But after tomorrow, especially after Liv Morgan probably literally gets squashed by Nia Jax, they're going to need something to do for the Raw Women's Championship, or the Raw Women's World Heavyweight Championship, or whatever it is. And I think that Io Sky is one name that's a potential possibility, because, like I said, she's an established, well-decorated former champion in WWE.
All right.
Unless Asuka's coming back from injury.
I have not heard anything one way or another. I know that she like signed a extension, but
That's what I need. I need Asuka and Dom Mysterio face to face in the ring. Just because it would be epic. Just because Asuka would just babble on like she always does, and it doesn't have to make sense because she just has that presence about her. So somebody like Asuka, Io Sky, Kairi Sane, I like to see one of them get that opportunity.
so there has been little chatter with Dom Mysterio, and he wants to make the most hated tag team of all time with Logan Paul. Just to get the two most hated people, one in WWE and two in just the world in general. Get the two of them on a team. See what I mean. The crowd, the noise of the crowd will be beyond reckoning.
I'm going to say this about Dominic Mysterio. Just because Dominic Mysterio is once upon a time was an F and Marks Marquee Award winner for the worst wrestler of the year no more than 3-4 years ago. I have listened to him in a bunch of his interviews. I heard him with Logan Paul. I heard him with Chris Van Vliet. I've heard him with there was another one I can't think of off the top of my head. That kid lives that gimmick. Like I've never seen. He stays in character in these interviews. Like Chris Van Vliet was asking him, they're like, "Well, tell me about your relationship with your dad." He goes, "My real dad or my deadbeat dad, Ray." I'm like, "Oh my god!" And just like just the way he talks, the way he presents himself, and he's like, "I don't have that kind of relationship with my dad." Just everything he does is just so perfect. He has nailed character development like I've never seen. He might be the biggest heel in wrestling history because of the fact that he was already a heel
Mm-hmm.
and turned super heel on Rhea Ripley.
I don't think in today's standards I would agree with you, but if you're talking all time, I mean it has to be the Road Warriors turning on Dusty Rhodes, where literally they could not exit the cage because the fans were going to kill them. Literally going to kill them.
It's
But
either that. It's either that, or I'll even say Hogan when he dropped the leg drop at Savage at Bash of the Beach '96.
you could stick it, brother. All the trash getting thrown in the ring. Hit Mean Gene.
Gene Mean.
You're garbage.
But honestly, that would just what would you call that tag team? Nuclear Heat?
I that wouldn't be the worst.
I'm writing it down.
Nuclear heat. And
Top.
we are now officially 2 weeks away from the possible death of Jake Paul. 2 weeks from tonight, Mike Tyson, philosopher Mike Tyson.
Philosopher.
Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. That guy stepping back in the ring. WWE Hall of Famer Mike Tyson.
Baddest man on the planet, Mike Tyson.
I don't know if you've seen pictures of him recently, but like, damn.
Jay, the
I'm
only
looking forward to this. I want this to be like Michael Spinks.
I wanted to be like the guy who ended up doing the Pizza Hut stuffed crust commercials where he turned around to eat the crust and he knocked himself out. That's what I want.
All right.
I forget that he knocked. There was a bunch of people he knocked out in like the first minute of a lot of fights. And if I'm being brutally honest with everybody, there's only 3 people in my mind who are more dangerous on this planet than Mike Tyson. One of them is Haku. One of them is Brock Lesnar. And the third one, Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Because I would say what I've said before to a bunch of other people, but I don't want it to happen because I don't want her to hold a gun to the back of my head.
Yep.
Push me in front of the oven.
Mm.
But yeah, next week top 10 list will be the top 10 tag names for Dom Mysterio and Logan Paul. That beats out what I was gonna already do for next week that I thought of after I did this week's top 10 list. But that's okay. That
I mean,
list is
this would be a Sean O approved name for that team.
the shitbags.
The shitbags.
You know it's going to end up being on there.
Yeah. All right. One of the things that has come out this week, rumored to be happening, allegedly, the dastardly Voldemort once his legal stuff is finished, is going to allegedly open up a new entertainment company. Allegedly, this said company that allegedly may or may not happen. I'm gonna go on the, I don't know, that old dude, that crazy MFer. I think even if he has to pay $100 million to Janelle Grant, you're like, oh, court case is finished. Time to start working again. I think even if he's like found guilty in this thing and pays through the nose, and even if he's in all these other litigation things, I think he's going to go forward because he's just bored. He's got nothing better to do. So, yeah, I'm going to start making movies and television shows. And I can only imagine, I mean, they announced like a handful of people that are former WWE employees that are going to be part of this venture. I did not see Kevin Dunn a part of it, but I am going to say 100%, 1,000% guarantee Kevin Dunn will be a part of it.
Oh, he's the first call. And I'll tell you, I've been stuck on the first 3 episodes of the Vince documentary. You will have a better understanding, just like everybody else will, once you watch the documentary. You'll get a better understanding of the dastardly Voldemort and how his brain works. And you get a cameo or 2 from Bob Costas, the recently retired GOAT Bob Costas. So, you'll have a better understanding, and it would absolutely 100% not surprise me if Vince McMahon went through with his ventures of a new entertainment company.
Even though he is as toxic and nuclear as you can get.
Because the wrestlers that are already coming out to his defense, the John Cena's and the Rocks and all this stuff, and they're just sitting there and saying all this stuff to support Vince and everything. You know that with John Cena retiring in the next year, Vince starts that up in a year in like 2026, and he needs somebody. You don't think he's going to call John Cena his golden boy? Hey, pal, I need you to come and save me, Super Cena. It's either that or we're going to find out that... That's what we're going to find out. We're going to find out Vince McMahon were at these Diddy parties. That's what we need. We need to find out Vince was at these Diddy parties so that Vince McMahon will go away forever, and I'm okay with that because you know what? We don't need the entertainment thing from Vince. We don't need the stench of him and all the horrible, corrupt shit he was doing in WWE. It has completely tarnished his legacy, and a lot of fans like you and I who grew up with this stuff for 30 plus years that were forever grateful for Vince McMahon for giving us this form of entertainment, and now it's just been tarnished because it's like, all right, he's a piece of shit.
The only industry I could see him being successful in and them accepting all the stuff that's gone on is porn. I heard that in the documentary at one point, Vince, when they asked him what he wanted to be known for, like the top three things, one of the things was his sexual prowess. One of the top three things. So if he starts a porn company and decides that he wants to be in the movies just to, hey, pal.
One Night in China 2, starring Vince McMahon.
That's the only industry that I would see accepting like a Vince McMahon product at this moment.
You don't think he can restart the XFL?
Chris Brown thinks that he would be more closely tied to Trump or Epstein than Diddy.
It don't matter. There's gonna be a lot of fuck people in the next few months.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I will not support whatever venture he decides to go on after this.
I'm gonna tune in if he actually does something like this and he does get Bucky Beaver in charge of production and he's gonna be doing the shaky camera and all that stuff, whatever the production. Yeah, I'm gonna tune in for one episode just to watch the shitstorm dumpster fire that this thing is gonna be, and then I'll never watch it again. It'd be like watching AEW for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. All right, I don't know how to transition out of Vince McMahon and all that sort of crazy stuff. Congratulations, Ruby Soho. To you and Angelo Parker on the birth of your baby. They had a baby girl, I believe her name was Evie. Congratulations, you two.
Jesus Christ, I gotta find a new wrestling page to get my information from because that's like the third thing you've said to me, and I'm like, what? What are you talking about? I didn't even know they. I knew she was pregnant with the guy that's Cool Hand. I think it's Cool Hand Luke or whatever the hell it is or whatever it is. Congratulations to them. I had no idea she had the baby.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch! Congratulations to you guys. I'm happy for you.
Yeah. Strange going from the porn talk to a baby being born and joyous. There was no transition there. No transition that could have been smooth. Smooth as X-Lax. Yep.
Oh yeah, the poor Vince. Now, we're at that point now where Voldemort just absolutely just freight trains the entire podcast, and unless Hulk Hogan does something stupid, we have no real way of transitioning from Vince's stupidity to Hulk Hogan's stupidity.
Right. Well, I think that's about all I got for notes. How about you?
Okay, I got a couple of really quick ones.
All right.
NXT next week is going to be moving to Wednesday. Obviously, with all the hell and chaos that is going to be breaking out on Tuesday. I mean, yes, I would probably still tune into NXT because they have. That'll be my next thing, but they are moving NXT, and it's not because they're going to be competing with AEW Dynamite and they want to compete with AEW Dynamite. They're not going to get viewers next week at all with the most important day.
I bet come Thursday morning, Dave Meltzer will say, AEW Dynamite had lower viewership because of the presidential election.
Even though the president,
The election was on Tuesday.
yeah,
Oh
well,
yeah,
they had
but
the
the
carryovers.
people are still watching on Wednesday.
Yeah,
Okay,
they
the
were
people who
watching
watch
carryovers.
Dynamite are the same ones who watch Fox News, MSNBC, and CNN, and Sheldon Cooper.
Demo.
That would be the strangest probably cross section of people you could think of. Like
Yes.
if you found the person that watched all of those.
Let's just put it this way. My father, who does tune into Fox News, has no idea what AEW is. It's all you need to know.
I cannot wait until I see that from Meltzer. It is my prediction. I don't know if I'm going to go with a Stone Cold Lead Pipe lock, but I think it's pretty close to a lock. That it's going to be a combination of presidential stuff in the news, and there was an NBA game on.
Yes. And reruns of Little House on the Prairie.
Yes.
But with that show being the show at the old NXT, or I said it again, the old ECW arena, the 2300 arena, they have brought in two personal favorites of mine. One of them is on the FMRG's logo, and the Brainless One dropped the ball, the biggest of any human being ever dropped when he met that gentleman 11 years ago. But also the man on my shirt will also be there on Wednesday as Bubba Ray Dudley and the whole effing show, Rob Van Dam. We're on NXT this week to promote the show in Philadelphia next week. Bubba Ray was getting recruited by Trick Williams to help him out with Ethan Page and Ridge Holland, and we're really not going to get into why is Ridge Holland in the main event picture in NXT. We're not even going to get into that because it's just going to upset me and drag this on for 45 minutes. It's not happening. Um, I just so they attacked Trick at the end of the show, and Bubba Ray came to his rescue. So we're getting Bubba Ray Dudley in the ECW arena next week for NXT.
Yeah.
So I'm happy about that. And with Rob Van Dam, who I have no idea if he's all elite still or whatever the hell he's doing. Rob Van Dam's also going to be there. I'm hoping that he's smoking pot on NXT because it'll be my good for next week.
RVD has a Legends deal that allows him some leniency where he could go and work AEW, but they cannot make any T-shirts or make any likenesses of Rob Van Dam. So it's almost like he's free to float, but clearly he does not go over to AEW very often because that'll cause political issues within WWE. And maybe they don't have him show up as much, and maybe they so RVD thinks like he's like going, you know what? It's the best of all worlds for me.
Yeah. One of the nicest and coolest people I've ever met, though, Rob Van Dam. Absolutely. But yeah, that was the last of my notes. I have predictions for the card for tomorrow, and I have a top 10 list.
In the chat, Chris Brown is saying he heard a tidbit that maybe, just maybe, the Beast Incarnate is going to be in Saudi Arabia tomorrow, and maybe, just maybe, he may call out the World Heavyweight Champion after his match against Cody.
I either want that or I want him to have a face-to-face with Jacob Fatu, because if I get Brock Lesnar and Jacob Fatu face-to-face tomorrow, I don't know what's going to happen.
It'll be like Meltzer watching Okada and Omega at the Tokyo
Dome. No, Cousin Jay, it would be like
or
the Red Sox.
World Series.
No, it'd be like the Red Sox winning Game 7 of the 2004 ALCS.
Yes.
Just strap it to my veins. Sunday was the anniversary of the greatest moment in my fandom of the Red Sox, where they ended an 86-year curse after coming back from a 3-0 deficit to beat the Yankees and fuck the Yankees and all that shit. But I would like to see him, if either with Gunther or Jacob Fatu. I want to see Brock Lesnar. I'm the one of the people that's like any Brock Lesnar's better than no Brock Lesnar. Give me all the Brock Lesnar. Oh, before I get into my last couple of things, I was doing some research and I was going to reintroduce this week. Guess that segment. But in the process of doing it, I was trying to find, and I did not realize that 34 years ago, they did not have ratings for segments on shows in, oh, let's say November of 1990. Because I was fishing to find what was the lowest rated segment on Clash 13, the F and Mark's only wrestling show, Clash 13. And I was doing a little research trying to see if there was anything I could find. So I was reading a little into it, and I came upon a tidbit of information in regards to that, which may or may not affect how we perceive a performer from said card.
Nothing will ever impact how I view Primetime Brian Lee.
Cousin Jay. Primetime Brian Lee wrestled that match in November of 1990. He had signed with World Championship Wrestling in early 1990. He debuted, or as I like to used to refer to it as debuted. He debuted back in 1988. So that is 2 years in the industry. And now I know what you're saying. Well, Brainless One, if he had signed with WCW in the beginning of 1990 and the match that he had with the Z-Man Tom Zink, that means he has about a year's worth of time in WCW to kind of get used to the system. Cousin Jay, do you know how many matches Primetime Brian Lee had in WCW before that match with the Z-Man?
Uh, 2. All right.
So a gentleman with less than 2 years of experience gets signed to WCW, and they used him once in a non-televised performance, and then makes his televised debut for whatever reason against the Z-Man at Clash the Champions 13. So, Cousin Jay, I'm in the belief now because the man was greener than bird shit that I am going to give a pass to Primetime Brian Lee for being extremely green in the ring and understand why he missed the call of where the Z-Man went and landed in Kansas and Primetime Brian Lee was in Louisiana.
You know who else was very green? Oz. Welcome to Oz. Welcome to
please.
Oz.
You've never
It's gonna
experienced.
work, baby. Just put the stunts cap on, baby. It's gonna be great.
There is not a greater wrestling entrance in the history of the sport to watch when you're on a edible than Oz. It is so bad. It's like watching The Room stoned out of your mind. I'm sorry. But yeah, I had to bring that up because I feel like we've been giving Primetime Brian Lee a lot of shit, and I'm like, well, if he's only been in the business for less than 3 years, and I'm meltering myself, and I'm trying to come up with excuses of why I'm going to say this guy's not really
No.
a dumpster
I
fire.
love Primetime Brian Lee for that match. The fact, like, I think it was like the Clash of Champions, like before or maybe 2 before that. That was the Z-Man's ending move. He did the high cross body from off the rope. So that may have been what was supposed to be the go home part of the match. He went home all right.
Listen, that pay-per-view will forever be a treasure to me just because when the Motor City Madman splashes Luger in the corner and he no-sells it like John Cena at SummerSlam 2010 and then clocks him with the exposed forearm and then puts him in the torture rack. I don't know how he got that 700-pound walrus on his shoulders. Still one of the most impressive things I've ever seen in my life.
And,
The total
and then like
package.
5 seconds later, the big cat comes out. And
Yeah, the big cat makes all these appearances.
Yeah. I bet
And
you know what? I bet the ratings on the big cat segments were great.
Well, I would sure hope so. He was on half the show, literally.
And I bet the Magic Show did well too.
I bet you that was the highest rated segment if there was a highest rated segment from 34 years ago. But since we're on the topic of it, and there's a bunch of names that are actually going to be actually where I'm going with my top 10 list, I think this is time for my top 10 list for this week.
All right.
This week, in honor of last week's top 10, I went the wrong way. On the top 10 reasons Shitstain is not in the WWE Hall of Fame, I've taken it to another level.
Okay.
I came up with the top 10 people I'd put in the effing Marks Hall of Fame before Vince Russo.
All right. So you're really scraping the bottom of the barrel here.
So obviously I'm omitting names like Cyndi Lauper, names like Andre the Giant, names like John Cena, benchmarks of this podcast.
You're talking
I don't know
like the Eva Marie, like
I'm talking about. I am talking about the bottom of the bottom of the. There's one name on here that's actually pretty hugely named.
This is the line, and this is them, like literally scraping over it.
This is below the Coco Beware line, people.
Okay, subterranean.
So the top 10 people I'd put into the F Marks Hall of Fame before I put in Shitstain. Number 10, Bastion Booger.
Yeah. Boogers
Number
instead
nine,
of stains. Yeah.
Number 9, I know that technically this person is already in the F Marks Hall of Fame, but you know what? I would say I'd put him in on his own instead of just being part of the greatest show ever. Number 9, it is Primetime Brian Lee.
Yes.
Number 8, one of my personal favorites, and I know that you can't wait for me to mention this person's name. Number 8, The Great Khali.
Yeah.
Yeah. Number 7, Katie Vick. Number 5, Mike Adamle. That was number 6. I'm sorry. That was number 6. Number 5, the Dastardly Voldemort.
Wow.
I honestly, I would have to consider putting him in just because of everything he's done in professional wrestling, and the bedpan alone would put him in the Hall of Fame. But it would take a lot for me to put him in there because he's basically just a step above the Canadian Voldemort in my book.
Right.
Number 4, Judy Bagwell.
Yeah. I can get
Number
Judy Bagwell.
Oh, if you could get behind number 4, I assure you, Cousin Jay, you will definitely be at the forefront of the defense of the person who is number 3 on my list of people who would be in the Hall of Fame before Vince Russo. And number 3 is the man, the MVP of Clash of the Champions 13, the Big Cat.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Honestly, of all the people on this list, he's probably the most likely to get into the After Marks Hall of Fame.
Very, very successful.
Number 2, and I know that everybody's going to be surprised that I've said this name because this man has been mentioned more times on this podcast than he has had wrestling matches in his career. And it's only 2 in WWE. And that man is Kazarni. All right, Cousin Jay, if that is the 2 through 10 for the top 10 people I'd put into the F Marks Hall of Fame before Vince Russo, who would the Brainless One put in numero uno? And he's actually surprised that this gentleman is not in the F Marks Hall of Fame because he has been a benchmark of professional wrestling for a very long time. He is a former Royal Rumble participant. He is also a former WrestleMania participant where he's 0-1. Who Cousin Jay would I put as number one on my list of people I would put in before Vince Russo?
Our former president this week tried taking his job. Duke Drosy, I have a lot of respect for what you do. Being in garbage, man, is tough work. I'm garbage. My people are garbage.
I'm garbage.
For a hot second, I thought that just maybe, there was a small chance QT Marshall was going to end up on the list. Because, I mean, you're talking about Vince Russo, so, like, I'm like going, all right, Brainless One may like QT Marshall more than Vince Russo.
Obviously, we're both in agreement that the one name that will never, ever go in the FMR's Hall of Fame is Chris Benoit.
Yeah.
There's no argument on that. I refuse. That is a hard refuse. Snuka is just a very lower tier below Chris Benoit. Vince McMahon's almost in that category too, and I'm gonna be hard pressed to not want to put him in. But there's a hell of a lot more deserving people to be in the FMR's Hall of Fame. And I think next week will be when we announce the first inductee in the FMR's Hall of Fame.
Class.
Although I know
2024,
yes. And I know now that Cousin Jay is going to hound me for the next week so that the Big Cat will be the main event top-notch headliner for the FMR's Hall of Fame class for 2024.
I think that there are a lot of worthy candidates out there that we can really like sell the audience on.
And including adding R-Truth for a second year in a row. That is always up for discussion. And hell, I could put Booker T in for the next 5 years so that Booker T could be a five-time FMR's Hall of Famer. And can you dig that, sucker? All right, that was my top 10. I think this is a good segue because typically the pre-show includes Booker T and all them. So I'd say we do some predictions for the show that you will not be watching and I will be watching 2/7 of.
Right.
Saudi Arabia show tomorrow. Let's start off with the match with one of the participants who is going to give Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu a run for their money for wettest hair. Seth Rollins versus Bronson Reed. Who do you got?
It feels like Rollins needs, it feels like Rollins is going to win the match, but I think he's going to get his ass kicked. Like it's going to be one of those things where Rollins wins the match, but Bronson Reed is just going to destroy him after the match. And it might be some kind of like small package or roll him up victory, and then
he just annihilates him with like a bunch of tsunamis.
Yeah.
I may tune into that just to see that part because I want to see how much water like flies off of Bronson Reed's head when he hits that tsunami, because he might actually also be up for. This might be the most competition Roman Reigns has had for wettest hair.
Yes.
So you're going with Seth Rollins.
I'm going with Seth Franklin Rollins.
I'm going with Bronson Reed. I think he needs a marquee victory over a marquee player if they really want to keep doing something with him. In a situation like this, he's going to benefit more from a win from a loss, but he is one of the ones that if he did lose, it's not the end of the world, because I like to see where they're going to go with this with him and Seth Rollins going forward.
And I don't think tomorrow will be the end of their story.
No, not at all.
And that's why I'm like, okay, well, if Bronson loses but beats the heck out of Rollins, they can keep this going into Survivor Series. They can keep it going into December to Dismember or whatever the heck it is.
Great balls of fire.
Great ball of fire. Yeah.
All right, the Women's Tag Team Championships. The team of Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair defend the titles against Damage Control, Io Sky, and Kairi Sane.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't put down their tag team name, but it is Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend from NXT, and Chelsea Green and Piper Niven.
Mm. You know what? I think as much as this could be an easy way out of Jade and Bianca holding the titles, I think they're going to figure out a way to win. I'm going to go with the champs retaining. After all these tag teams have lost this week, I'm going with the champs retaining.
You and me both. I'm not going to put them as my lock of the week, but they're going to retain.
Chris Brown has Seth Franklin Rollins and agrees with us about Bianca and Jade.
Triple threat match for the United States Championship. Carmelo Hayes versus Andrade versus, the birthday boy, L.A. Knight.
Yeah!
Yeah? Who do you got, Cousin Jay?
Mm. So who'd you say? L.A. Knight, Andrade, and who's the third?
Carmelo Hayes.
Carmelo Hayes.
Andrade and Carmelo Hayes have been in the middle of this best of 7 series. Their 7th match was last week where L.A. Knight, who did absolutely no effort to dress like a referee, refereed the match, and now it's a triple threat match between the two of them. So the last 2 best of 7 series that they've done in WWE have had fucked finishes in the 7th match.
Of course.
Vince Russo booking 101, bro.
Huh.
I'll say it right now, LA Knight's retaining. I think that this
I want him to retain. Like, part of me is almost like, are they gonna like put a rocket on Carmelo? Quite honestly, that's the only question I've got.
I think that he's going to get that rocket, and he's going to be the one that eventually takes the title off of LA Knight. I think they're going to wait till a one-on-one encounter, and that they're going to use this as a way for LA Knight to retain, where Carmelo Hayes or Andrade still looks strong, and the guy who loses but doesn't eat the pinfall can prolong the story with LA Knight. Yeah. But I too was on the fence kind of going into this about Carmelo Hayes because I could see them putting the title on him, and I wouldn't be surprised if they did. I think that they're going to keep it on LA Knight because he's still selling merchandise and he's just got the championship, so I think he's going to retain.
All right, Brainless One. I think your brainless logic has convinced me. I'll go LA Knight as well.
Yeah?
Yeah?
All right. Randy Orton versus Captain Cupcake.
Orton's been quite on quite the losing skid. I know that they brought Captain Cupcake back here. I think Orton wins, and it's going to keep the cupcake slide going, and he's going to talk about how people are against him, and maybe he's done. So I'm going with Orton.
Randy Orton via disqualification. They have 7 matches on the card for tomorrow. After everybody cried about only getting 5 on every premium live event, they have 7 in Saudi Arabia tomorrow. If that's the case, one of these matches may or may not have to end in a squash. So unless Bronson Reed absolutely, literally squashes Seth Rollins tomorrow, Kevin Owens is going to lose to Randy Orton via disqualification and beat the shit out of him in the ring.
Chris Brown in the chat saying Owens in a squash. nobody has ever squash matched Randy Orton. Like, even when Orton went against Brock Lesnar in that SummerSlam, that wasn't a squash match. It wasn't like Orton hit him with the RKO and almost beat him. I can't see him losing in a squash match to Captain Cupcake. I just can't see that.
I can't either. And that's why I thought of it too, and I was like, no, if it's going to be that match that has the quick finish, it's going to be Kevin Owens real quick, low blows Randy Orton and beats the shit out of him after the match.
Could be. All right.
All right. How about we will do the women's title match?
Nia
Jax versus Liv Morgan.
Nia Jax.
Do we get a cash in? On either title. They're looking for a face.
That is a very interesting scenario, and if Nia Jax is the one who does the squashing, because that probably is your squash match.
Yeah, but is that a good look if you're going to have one women's champion squash the other women's champion?
No, because Liv Morgan's then going to lose the title to
Tiffy?
Yeah.
And that's how you turn Tiffy face, and she could be the new face of Monday Night Raw for the women's division?
That's if they want to do this thing and she doesn't cash in on Nia Jax because she's in fear of her or like what's the better story in the end? Her actually cashing in on Nia, or after Nia lays out the female champion of Monday Night Raw, that Tiffy cashes in.
Well, Cousin Jay, you and I both know that which answer I'm going to pick, because if Tiffy cashes in between now and the end of next month, she gets my female superstar of the year.
Over Chelsea Green, all right.
Over Chelsea Green, just because she ends the Nia Jax reign. I wouldn't be surprised if we got a title, a cash in. So just curious, just outside.
I think that honestly is highly possible. They, a couple of years ago, they had the first ever women's match in Jeddah. They showed video of women who were there who were like crying, seeing stuff like this. Because Saudi Arabia is not what I would say they do not have the most rights for women out there, and seeing stuff like that's a big deal to them. And I think seeing a women's title change could be a big deal. Not only would we get Nia Jax as the super duper mega grand slam champion of everything and anything, but then we would also have Tiffy Time becoming a new world champion.
Okay.
I can see that scenario playing out. But I think Liv is losing. Chris Brown thinks Liv is winning.
I got Nia winning too, so. Hey, you know what I should do? That's what I got to do. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to jinx it right now. If you want to change your pick right after I do this, Nia Jax wins, and she's my lock of the pay-per-view, or the premium live event. Actually, no, that's not good, because the last time I said somebody was a lock, the Patriots beat the Jets, like I said they were going to last week.
We got 2 wins. We're over halfway to the amount of wins I thought we would get going into the year.
You guys beat the Jets. That's the best thing about the season so far.
Hey, we also beat the American Nightmare, Joe Burrow.
Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah.
Speaking of the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, him and Gunther are fighting for the Saudi World Championship. The Ring General or the American Nightmare, Cousin Jay? Who do you got?
I think I got to go with the Ring General.
Gunther.
And I think it's because, you know what? Cody's already finished the story. He is the top merchandise seller. Who would, like, not only has Gunther been dominant, since he won that Intercontinental title a couple of years ago, his only loss came because of lack of hubris and lost to Sami Zayn on a fluke. Gunther stands more to gain from winning this match than Cody does. No matter what, Cody will still be like the top merch seller and will still be kissing babies and
blowing up airplanes,
doing what he does. So I'm going to go with Gunther, and it's going to be a slobber knocker because Gunther is just going to pound the shit out of it.
I agree with you. He has the most to gain and the most to lose with the outcome of this match. Because Cody could take this loss and still look like $1 million. Gunther loses this match and he loses a little bit of that edge that he has. He needs this more than Cody does. And it's not a slight on Cody if he does, if Gunther goes over on him. Because I think Gunther has lost like not even a handful of times since he's joined WWE. From his NXT UK days to his NXT days to his main roster days, I don't think he's lost more than a handful of times.
Right.
And all the people who have beaten him in matches are all on. Actually, I think they're all on Monday Night Raw. Sami Zayn, Braun Breaker, Pete Dunne, and
Dragunov.
Ilya Dragunov. Yeah, I'm going with Gunther.
All right.
Now the Bloodline OG, which is the Usos and Roman Reigns versus the new 2.0 Bloodline. The team of, I don't know why they're doing this, Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, and Solo Sikoa. Who do you got?
I say that there is almost no way there is going to be a clean finish to this match. This may end up double count out, double disqualification. They may let it go and let them do whatever. This is just to push forward to Survivor Series.
War Games.
Yeah. So somebody may win, but it'll probably be like by DQ. I generically will. I'm just going to say the. I think there's going to be some nefarious tactics, and I think that the Solo and American or the Samoan Werewolf and Tama Tonga are going to win.
I am going to offer you a one-time, first time ever in podcast history, 8+ years, the opportunity to opt out of picking one of the two teams if you are willing to stick with fucked finish as your pick and get the points for it.
Well, I mean, just because having an F finish can mean so many things, whether it's somebody getting a low blow and the referee not seeing it, whether you got the final boss who makes an appearance and picks a side. There are so many scenarios. I'll stick with what I said, but
okay.
It all paths lead to the Survivor Series.
I'll go with you on the Bloodline 2.0 then. I was going to pick the fuck finish, and I was looking for a counterpart for my fuck finish call, but it's fine. It's fine. But I'll go with the Bloodline 2.0. I think that they're going to try to do something with Jacob Fatu and push him to Mars. Fuck the moon. He's going to Mars. So,
right.
Yeah, I'll go with 2.0.
Okay.
I think that's it for our notes. I think it's time now for our good.
Our bad.
And our brainless.
Yeah.
All right, cousin Jay, what do you got for your good this week?
All right. I am pulling a rabbit out of the hat here. There are certain things that happen that, even if they happened a long time ago, just because it's new knowledge to me and puts a smile on my face, things like that, will get my good. As much as I'd love to talk about the Yankees in that wonderful fifth inning being my good, I'm not. I'm not. There is a famous independent show that the Brainless One went to many, many, many years ago, where he happened to be sitting next to a little kid,
Didn't even hit the chair, Dad.
and one of the men on that show was a man named Ron Zombie. Ron Zombie, I found out. So I found out this guy that I used to play baseball with back in the day was an independent wrestler in Connecticut for a little bit of time. I looked up to see a couple of his matches, only to find out this guy that I knew had his picture taken with one Ron Zombie. With how many times you have talked about Ron Zombie, that kid in that show, like when I saw this picture, like the dude I went like played baseball with, I'm like going, are you kidding me? That dude, we had a practice at Sarge Riley Field, and he found something out in the outfield, and he lit it on fire.
No, I don't believe it.
The coach was like so pissed off. Said, I know one of you saw who lit this on fire. Who did it? Who did it? All right, nobody's going to tell me. You're all running a lap. I was catching. They did not tell me to take the equipment off. They said, go now. I had to run a lap around the field during the summer at Sarge Riley Field, which was a bit bigger than a regular baseball diamond, because this dude, I think it was like a towel, lit it on fire in center field. We nicknamed him MacGyver. But when I saw the picture of Ron Zombie and MacGyver, I was like,
This is my good for this week.
this got to be my good for this week. And Ron Zombie was selling that chair shot. I mean, didn't even hit the chair, Dad. All right, Brainless One, what do you have for your good?
I wanted to give it to the Dodgers for beating the Yankees this week. I really did. I really, truly, from the bottom of my heart, wanted to give it to Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley. And I said it Friday that I was going to give it to them. I am going to acknowledge and give kudos where it belongs for this week. As tomorrow, for the Saudi Arabia show, WWE has 10 women booked on the Saudi show, including 4 African American women as part of the 8 women part of the 8 women in the tag match. I think this is great for WWE. I think this is great for them to showcase somebody like a Jade Cargill and have, the Saudis, experience the whole Jade Cargill effect. And honestly, Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend are both very good young talents that they have down in NXT. Lash Legend reminds me a lot of a taller version of Bianca Belair. She broke all of Bianca Belair's records at the Columbine, at the combine that they did there. So she's got a lot of potential. She's actually really good in the ring. I've enjoyed her down in NXT. So I'm very happy that all these women are getting an opportunity to wrestle in Saudi Arabia tomorrow. 10 women on the card, so that's my good for this week.
All right.
What do you got for your bad?
I'm going back to AEW Dynamite with the debut of the Hurt Business, the debut of Bobby Lashley coming into AEW, and loudly, as the referees all come to the ring, you hear one yell, 90 seconds! What kind of operation do you got going there? You show people bleeding. Like that's not edgy, that's just stupid. Like, tell your referee to, like, be a little quiet, maybe. There are microphones around. 90 seconds. Not 90 seconds!
Yeah?
Yeah. So that's my bad for this week.
Okay. I am going with Samantha Irvin. We were just talking last week about how she just left WWE, and we were like, oh, all the best in her future endeavors and everything. Well, apparently it came out that she was tired of being a ring announcer, and she wanted to be a performer as a manager. Well, ever since she has left, she has gone out and has just become just as toxic on the internet as her husband. The fact that I used to like Ricochet and now I can't stand that motherfucker just goes to show you the disease that is all elite wrestling and what it can do to a human being once Tony Khan gets his coke-riddled fingers all over these wrestlers. And I just think it's ridiculous that this woman was so good at it, at what she did, and they got a lot of high praise from a lot of people, and this is how she's going to treat people? Sour grapes? No. I'm sorry. That gets my bad for this week.
All right.
What do you got for your brainless?
I have to go with the people who scammed that old dude out of $1 million pretending to be Alexa Bliss. Life will catch up to you. Like when you reach for something like that, that's a very temporary thing. Money is a temporary thing. Like, and I think most of the people who get money that way, they don't have this great joy. Like, maybe you sit there and you get happy for a couple of seconds. Maybe you have a party and you have a fun time at the party, but when all the noise goes down, when all the stuff goes down, you know what? You find out that you're sad and like, oh yeah, maybe what I did was maybe a little bit shitty. And maybe actually all I've done in my life has left me hollow. Like I said, I hope they have a true come to Jesus moment. They probably won't anytime soon. But people like that, it's just unexcusable. Scum of the earth. So those folks get my brainless this week.
And justifiably so, too.
What do you have for your brainless?
Well, I pulled a Cody Rhodes, and I told everybody to expect something else from my brainless, but that was all. Smoke and mirrors. There was a baseball team who had a chance to extend their season this year on Wednesday night, and were winning 5-0 in a game. And then in the 5th inning, they all forgot how to play the sport of baseball, imploding to the point where they ended up losing to the Dodgers and parlay Ohtani. The New York Yankees, and their inability to play defense in every shape and form of professional baseball, like, it was a bloopers reel of what they did in the 5th inning.
It was not much worse than what I saw with Buttermaker and the Bad News Bears.
I mean, Judge missed the ball. Nobody covered. Who the fuck doesn't cover first? And you know
Garrett
what?
Cole, baby.
And I'm going to give honorable mention to Yankee fans because they were talking shit to me this week, saying, hey, the Yankees made it to the World Series in 2024. What the fuck have the Red Sox done? Well, if I'm not mistaken, Yankee fans, the Red Sox and the Yankees have the same number of World Championships in 2024. Not in their existence, just in the 2024 season. So you could go and play fucking golf, just like the Red Sox have been doing for the last few weeks, and go fuck yourselves. So Yankees, you and your fans get my brainless for this week.
Yeah?
Yeah? So if you like what you've seen, whether you are a first-time watcher or a continuous fan, make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on the Instagrams, and subscribe to us on the YouTube at the letter T, the letter H, the letter E, the letter F, the letter N, MARKS, the F and Marks. If you like, follow and subscribe to us. We will do the same back. That has always been our
mantra. And make sure you set up notifications so that when we are live, you're notified that we are live. So you can join in on our favorite sport that we all love to hate,
the New York
professional
Yankees.
wrestling. Hey, the Jets won this week.
Yeah, in the second attempt in the week.
Right. Hey.
Because they lost
to the Patriots.
It's so good now that once Robert Kraft gets rid of the Patriots, I could probably start liking them again like I used to when Drew Bledsoe was their quarterback. And I don't hate them anymore.
Kraft owned them when Bledsoe was the quarterback.
Yes, but I didn't start hating the Patriots until Tom Brady got there, and then Robert Kraft became a bigger piece of shit. Although Robert Kraft has definitely won me over by letting the Patriots plane be used by the Dodgers on their way back to Los Angeles after winning the World Series against the Yankees. So kudos to the Yankee or to the Patriots. They almost got my good for this week. But that's it for this week.
I think we got the Jets and Robert Kraft allowing the Patriot Jets to fly the Dodgers.
Yes. He almost got it, and then I realized it was Robert Kraft.
Yeah.
So I think that's it for this week. We got our notes off. We did our good, bad, and brainless, a top 10 list. We did some predictions for tomorrow. I think we've covered all our bases. We have nothing more or nothing less to do.
That's erroneous. Erroneous.
Hello, Curtis Axel. Hello, Brainless One. Is there something you would like to tell the audience tonight, as well as Cousin Jay and myself, on what is episode 379 of everyone's favorite wrestling podcast, the F and Marks? I most certainly would, Brainless One. Did you know today, November 1st of 2024, at an incredible 3,568 days, I, F and Marks Hall of Famer, is still alive in the 2015 Royal Rumble. By the way, I ripped that thing in half. It's an automatic brainless for me the following week.
Yeah?
Yeah? Anyway, for episode 379 of everyone's favorite wrestling podcast, the F and Marks.
I'm Jay. He is.
I am the Brainless One, and you make sure you mark out
with your guac out. See you, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah?
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 Yeah?